Hello, students, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because in the last class it was very difficult. Acha, in the last class, are you able to listen to me or not? Some of them are complaining, some of them are saying that yes, we can listen. So, how many of you are able to listen to me?
All of them, sir.
Okay, because one student one complaining. Okay, so we'll start immediately because we don't have much time. Okay, uh, whoever can join any video will be supplied to you, so they can always know what we are discussing. So today we are going to discuss about this bearing capacity from the experimental point of view. Okay. Achha, in the last class, I told you about this different type of general shear failure. Okay. So in that, after finally there was one diagram because that three type of shear failure, which is general shear failure, local shear failure, and the punching shear failure, has been given by Terjagi Basic in 1963. On that also he made a diagram. Okay, so that diagram is this. In that you can looking at this diagram and you can directly tell what type of shear failure will be there on the basis of the. Who is playing now? Are you able to listen to me or not? Hello, students. Hello,
Yes, sir.
who is doing this? Are you able to see somebody is playing mischief here? On the screen somebody is playing around. Hello, hello. Okay, anyway, so if you see, this is the. Can you see the my desktop or not? The PPT I'm showing. Are you able to see it or not? You are able to see the PPT, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now
Yes, sir.
here, if you see, this is the line which is the general shear failure. Okay, this is the line. So if the relative density is somewhere like this, and the relative depth of the foundation is somewhere like this, which is starting from 0 to 10, and it is relative density is going from 0 to 1. 1 means 100%. Okay. So if you see, so in this case, if it is coming in this range, then it will be general shear failure. If it is coming in this range, it will be local shear failure. And if it is coming in this range, it will be the punching shear failure. But another thing, in addition to that, if you are having specifically, because this is mostly with relate to the strip footing, this whole thing. So we can predict with respect to with some changes to this, we can predict with respect to the circular footings and rectangular footings also. Okay. So in this, if it is the circular footing, this is how it will go. That means the local shear failure will go like this. So general shear failure will be here. Other general shear failure are like this. Okay. Similarly, if it is a long rectangular foundations, it will go up to this as a local shear failure. Okay, which is very similar to the strip footings. Okay, because long rectangular means L by B ratio is very high, so it is very similar to strip footing. So basically, this is the idea. Okay, so now you know what is the different type of shear failures, and this is how the diagram is made. Okay, now next we'll go to. Okay. Okay. Now we'll see bearing capacity estimated from the field test. Okay, all these things we have given is based on the till now bearing capacity theory is theoretical one. So how you are going to find the bearing capacity from the field test? Okay, so over the years various attempts has been made to obtain the bearing capacity values by more direct approach instead of using the more rigorous theoretical approaches. Okay, because that is very easy for the field people. Okay, so these methods are in general empirical in nature and warrant sufficient judgment from the user. So empirically means it is based on the experience. Okay, those are the terms values we have taken on the basis of the experience. Okay, so maybe in one place it can be applied, some other place it may not be applied. Okay, there are three institute tests used to estimate bearing capacity of soil. One is standard penetration test, one is cone penetration test, and one is late load test. And all these tests has been taught to you already. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that going to tell you how to use this test to find the bearing capacity. Okay, so let us first focus on the standard penetration test. Okay, so in the standard penetration test, okay, so on the basis of that, you know how to find an n value, you know how to get a corrected n value, that you know. Okay, so on the basis of that, Terjagi and Peck has developed in 1948 and then later 1967 developed some curves. Okay, so on the basis of standard penetration test, in 1940 proposed a correlation in the form of curves of estimating the allowable soil pressure for footings on soil. So correction representing the field of allowable pressure is water table is at least 2B below the. So when you are using this, the water table should be at least 2B below the foundation level, or B is the width of the footing. So as I told you earlier, the influence of the water table will have no influence if it is below 2B from the bottom of the foundation. So that is a must for this using this curve. Okay, and here the n value represented in the corrected value. So what the n value we are seeing is the final n value. And if the water table is at or close to the foundation level and depth width ratio of the foundation is small, that means L by B ratio is small, which is maybe 1 or 1.5. Either the settlement is doubled. Okay, so whatever the settlement you are getting will be doubled, or the allowable pressure is reduced by 50% for the same permissible settlement of the 25 mm. So you can use these curves, but again, if that is the condition, if the water table is like that, then you have to reduce in by 25%. Okay. Now, if the depth width ratio unit, the value need to be reduced only by only 1/3. Okay. So if it is near to 1, then you can reduce it by 1/3. Okay. Not 50%. Now, if you see this diagram, in X direction, the width of the footing. In the Y direction, the standard penetration resistance. Okay, this is the value. In this direction, the allowable bearing capacity. So our job is to find allowable bearing capacity. So what we will do, first we choose the width of the footing, then we'll choose the standard penetration value, whatever the value may be. Okay, so you draw straight line like this, straight line like this, vertical line, horizontal line. Okay, wherever they're meeting, okay, that will give you the allowable bearing pressure. But one thing you should keep in that it should be on a curve. Okay, so if you are not seeing the curve, then you have to choose two corresponding curve and you take the intermediate of that. That means you have to interpolate it later. Okay, that is the basic point what I am trying to tell you. Because this curve will give you the so from this curve we are going to get the allowable bearing pressure. Okay. And here the B has to be always in meter. Okay, because it is given in meter. Now next, this is a curve, so you have to use a curve. But Tang in 1962 gave an equation which is giving the result very similar to this curve, and that equation is 34 QNA is equal to net allowable. So 34.5 into n minus 3 into 0.305 B plus 1 by 0.7 B, and it is in kilonewton per meter square. So the result here you will get will be very similar to what you will get from this curve. Okay, so these equations can be directly used. Okay, but one thing you should keep in mind is that in this case B dimension has to be in meter. Okay, so that is the case. And don't get confused with another thing. It is I am written here Tejagiv in 1948 and 1967. The final paper which came in 1967. Okay, it is proposed started in 1948, then it is finally proposed in 1967. This curve is there in 1967. Okay, final corrected curve. Okay. Okay. Now another thing, Mayorov is given the correlation which is QNA equal to 125 Newton, 125 12 N for B value less than equal to 1.22 BB. Okay, less than 1.22 B, and this value is QNA is 8N into 0.35 0.035 0.305 B plus 1 by 0.305 B whole square into whole square kilonewton per meter square when the B value is greater than 1.22 meter. Okay, but QNA is the net allowable pressure for a permissible settlement of 25 mm. Okay, so up to permissible settlement of 25 mm, these are the values. Okay. Now, when you see this, you must have the idea that in most of the cases in soil mechanics, the maximum permissible settlement we allow is 2.25 mm or 2.5 centimeter. Okay, because whatever may the structure, how much bigger the structure may be, if it is go beyond this, then we have to be worried about it. Okay, I'm not saying that they will immediately fail, but you should start worrying because after that the plastic state will come. Okay. Next is, this is what I have done is for standard penetration test. Now this is for the cone penetration test. Okay, in the cone penetration test, Mayorov in 1956 and 65 papers has suggested formula for allowable soil pressure based on the cone penetration test values, restricting the settlement not to exceed 25 mm. Okay, so he has made sure that settlement cannot exceed 25 mm. And these formulas are based on the Tejagiv impact curves for spread of the spread or strip footings on dry sands. Okay, so based on that, he has correlated the cone penetration results and try to find this. Now, what is this QCS? QCS is the cone penetration resistance because it is not like N value. Okay, it is not number of impact. You will get a proper value. What is the resistance value? So that is QCS, and this QCS in KP actually. So QA is allowable is QCS by 30 when B is less than 1.2 meter, and when it is B is greater than 1.2 meter, this is the equation which is QCS by 50 in the B plus 0.3 by B KPA. Here also B is meter only. Okay. So these formulas are based on approximate rule that the N value is 1/4 of the static cone penetration. Okay. So because it is based related to standard penetration value, then it is related to cone penetration value. That's why they first relate the cone penetration with the standard penetration, then only they develop this equation. Okay. So that's why this the N value is 1/4 of the static cone penetration. Okay. The value of QCS is obtained using the above equation should be reduced by 50% if the sand within the stress zone is submerged. That means it is coming under the water table. Okay. Mayorov further suggests that the value has to be doubled for wrapped or pure foundations. Okay. So when this value is there, you can this the value whatever the value has been doubled. This is for the strip footing. So if you are considering some kind of wrapped footing or pure foundations, in those cases this value can be doubled. Whatever we are getting, this value just multiplied by 2. Okay. So after that, Sketch-Martin in 1975 gave a very simple formula, which is from this you can get the value of N gamma. So this in this QCS by 80, and this N gamma value can be used in any of this equation, that Tejagiv equation or general bearing capacity equation. Generally they use in Tejagiv equation, that's CNC Q and Q 0.5 gamma B N gamma. That N gamma value can be you can use directly. Okay. So these are the two things which is based on cone penetration test. How you can get the values of bearing capacity. Okay. Next, this is the case when the SAM from cone penetration test. The result is Indian Standard Code. Okay, so in this case, which is 640/1981, provides a chart relating the QNF by QCS. QNF is the net bearing capacity, and QCS is the cone penetration resistance. Okay, and for a fitting of build B. Okay, so from knowing the depth and width of the footing, the value of the QNF by QCS is obtained. Okay, if this is the value B is known, so this is the different value. Okay, so these are the values. This DF dr by b blue one, dr by b 0.5. This is the surface. On the surface, if it is there, it is 0. So this value here given is the dr or df. It looks like dr, but it is df. So this is the depth by b. Okay, so when it is 1. In general, why I am giving only 0.5 up to 1? Because we are assuming in that shallow foundation, by definition, shallow foundation is df by b should be 1 or less than that. Okay, in that assumption, this has been done. So for this curve has been given. So once you know the B value, you can just apply, and according to the, depending on the depth at which you are placing your foundations, you can get the QNF by QCS, and you already know the value of QCS. Okay, so that you can apply. So this is how you are going to use the cone penetration test results for finding the bearing capacity. Now we have already taught you about the load plate load test. Okay, so in the plate load test, I will again come back to this, but basically because this is already told you, that's why I'm telling you. So this in these equations we have related the settlement of the foundation with the settlement of the plate. Okay, so this SF equal by SP equal to B plus BP plus 0.3, BP plus BP into B plus 0.3, and B is the width of the proposed foundation. BP is the width of the plate in meter. Okay, settlement in mm, and SF in mm. So this is what this should be you should be very careful. Here it is mm and it is in meter. So this from this you can get the value of settlement directly, and this is the case when it is the clay soil. Okay, this is used when it is clay soil. I'm not written it by mistake, but it is for the clay soil. Anyway, this will again we'll come back to this. Okay, so this is clay soil. Okay, clay soil, and this is for granular soil. Okay, now I will give you some, because you have already done the plate load test and you know about how the load deformation curves are created. So this is the case when there is a dense soil. So failure will be very immediate. So you will immediately get this point like this. You can immediately know this is the ultimate bearing capacity, failure bearing capacity. Okay. For this partially cohesive soil, this is the curve. For a loose or medium dense sand, this is the curve. Okay. And for a cohesive soil, purely cohesive, so this will be the case because it will go like this. Okay, it will not increase anymore. Yeah. So from these curves you can get an idea. From this also you can get a ultimate. You can know what will be the ultimate bearing capacity of the footing. After that you can apply some factor of safety and get the net bearing capacity. Okay. But the problem happens when you go for this type of soil, when it is partially saturated. It is very difficult for me to find any point where I should go for it. Okay. Similarly, for loose, medium dense, this is the case, but it is very difficult for me. Earlier also, I told you about to choose a point which will be the ultimate bearing capacity. Like you take the straight line, tangent lines like this. You take a backward line this, wherever they are meeting. From there, you take a vertical. From there, you go down and get the bearing capacity. Okay, so that also can be done, but we are using logarithmic scales to get the bearing capacity from this type of curve. That is, this one is the partially cohesive soil, and this is the loose to medium dense soil. So here, in such cases, a plot of load settlement both being taken in logarithmic scales. So both in the both load and settlement are taken in logarithmic scales. And once you make a logarithmic scale, what will happen? It will get a curve. Okay, and from that curve you make the tangents, and whatever intersection you are getting from that, you will get the value of bearing capacity. Okay, then the self bearing capacity is calculated from the ultimate bearing capacity after allowing a certain factor of safety that I already told you. In case of sandy soil, the plate settlement SP corresponding to the self soil pressure from the graph is found. Okay. Now, how to do that? In case of the sandy soil, the plate settlement corresponding to SEF, soil pressure from the graph is found. The settlement SF is computed from the settlement equation that already earlier I have shown you in the earlier slide. I have shown you now this that for the granular soil and for the clay soil I have shown you the settlement equation. So from that you will get the SF value. If the SF is less than the permissible settlement, then the SEF soil pressure is computed above is the allowable soil pressure. Okay. Otherwise, SF is made equal to the permissible settlement and the plate settlement SP is computed back from the settlement equations. Okay. So then the soil pressure is corresponding to this SP in the corresponding load settlement curve is the allowable soil pressure. Okay. So what I'm trying to tell you is that you use that equations. Okay. And this permissible SF with the settlement of the foundations, if it is going, if suppose you are assuming a value of 25 mm, okay, which I already told you. So in those cases, if it is less than 25 mm, then you take that value. But if it is more than 25 mm, then you have to take 25 mm only. Okay, and once you do that, again you back calculate. Okay, the what will be the SP value corresponding what is the load value, all these things that you can calculate, and from that you can find the value of the this bearing capacity. Okay, so that you should keep in mind. That equation can be used provided it is within this permissible settlement, and most of the 90% cases this permissible settlement is 25 mm. Okay. Okay. Now another equation based on this field test, Hossel given an plate load, some way to design the foundation. So what he is done that to obtain the relevant parameter, two plate load tests are conducted with different sizes of the particular plates. So what he does is that he uses two different plates. Okay. And from these two different plates, he will get two loads. Okay. Who is playing? Okay. So load settlement curve for equal settlement, for equal, please keep in mind equal settlement. The loads Q1 and Q2 are obtained. Okay, so based on that, he has made two equations. Okay, Q1 is A1 into M plus P1 into N. Similarly, Q2 will be A2 into M into P2 into N. Okay. Now, what is this A1 and A2? A1 is the A2 are the area of the plate, 1 and 2. Okay. And P1 and P2 are the perimeters of the plates. Okay. Perimeter means 2 into B plus L in case of rectangular footing. Okay. Similarly, if it is a square footing, 2 4 into L. Okay. If it is a circular footing, 2 pi R, something like that. Okay. So you have to you can get the perimeter for that particular plate. You get the area of that particular plate. You know the Q1 value. Okay. Similarly, for the second plate, you know Q2, you know A2, you know P2. So from these two equations, you get the because there is two equation and two unknown, which is M and N. So using these two and M and N, I can't. Then what I will do is consider M and N are obtained by solving this equation. Then for a given load Q of the foundation, the area and perimeter and the dimensions are obtained from. So if you once you know the value of M and N, and if you know, because you are going to decide what is the size of the footing, so you know the value of A, you know the value of P, then you can get the value of Q. Okay, so this is very effective formula. So first you to take two plate, do the test. From that value you get the value of M and N. That M and N can be used for any foundation size you are going for. Okay, so what you can do is that first mathematically play around. That means you take different size of footings and check what is the Q value. So if this Q value is more than the what is needed, or if it is more than the load coming over the structure, then it is SFM. Okay, this is the very effective formula. Okay, so this is how the all the three different type of in-situ tests are done. From that, I am deriving the ultimate bearing capacity, net bearing capacity of the soil. Okay, from the experiment directly. Okay, now Okay. Next is your settlement criteria. Okay. In the settlement criteria, so what are the causes of the settlement first? Elastic compression of the settlement of foundation and underlying are also immediate settlement and maybe the one cause, and it is computed by realizing the soil as an elastic material. Okay, here I have written the section that is not relevant to you. Okay, so every soil can have an elastic compression. Every material can have elastic compression. So that will be the this elastic compression. Okay. Second is this foundation this compression will happen immediately. Okay. Second is the plastic and inelastic compression of the underlying soil is called time dependent settlement or settlement due to consolidation. So which is both primary consolidation and secondary conditional, which is dealt with in consolidation and could be another cause. Okay, this is another way, another cause of the settlement, that is because of the consolidation. So as I told you earlier, one is primary consolidation. Primary consolidation means when the water is going out of the system, and secondary consolidation is the readjustment of the particles. But if you see in the consolidation settlement, more than 90% or 95% is primary consolidation. The last 5% is secondary consolidation. So primary consolidation is very important to us. Okay. And while teaching consolidation, I already taught you about this relevance of settlement and how to find the settlement. So that settlement is actually this shallow foundation settlement. Okay. Third is groundwater lowering, another major cause of the settlement to occur. Repeated raising and lowering of the groundwater, particularly in groundwater soil, tends to reduce the void volume and causes settlements of the surface, ground surface. So when the water table is going up and down, and it happens because of seasonal region also. Because when the summer season of this will happen, when the when there is winter season, something else will go because the evaporation will be less. Okay, so because of that, the water level going up and down. At that time, because of that, whatever the void will be there, they will gradually decrease. And when that happens, then settlement will happen. Okay, so prolonged lowering of the water table may cause settlement in the fine grained soil. So if the water table is going for a very long time, then gradually the settlement will happen. And that particularly happens in case of fine grained soil. Okay. Pumping of water or draining of water without proper filter material also cause settlement. Okay. So when you are doing this, the small particles will move out of the system. When some small particles will go out of the system, then there will be a gap between the bigger particle or voids will be more. And when that happens, then settlement can happen. Okay. The vibration caused by pile driving, machinery, blasting may cause settlement, particularly in a granular soil. So this is the case when one existing building is there, and beside that I am doing some kind of this vibration driving, because this pile driving and machinery blasting, it takes hell, very high dynamic forces are created. Now, when that happens, any shallow foundation nearby can be affected by it. Okay, so you should be careful. Other cause of the settlement include volume change of the soil, ground movement and excavation by adjacent structures, mining subsidence. Okay, so volume change is maybe because if it is a clay soil, water comes, then volume will change. So settlement can go upward also, downward also. Ground movement happens generally in case of the uh, uh, earthquake earthquake forces, and also because of the if any excavation is done beside a structure, then the soil of the foundation soil will can move laterally towards that excavation. Okay, that also has to be done. And mining subsidence is generally any mines, because mining is something underground. Okay, so when it is going down, you don't know what is happening in the surface, but due to rainy season and something like that, if the strength of those tunnels goes down, then they can collapse. So then at that time, this mining subsidence will come into picture. Okay. So this is because this is very rare in case of a residential area, mining subsidence. But this do happen. Okay. Now this is the case for a immediate settlement. Okay. This immediate settlement here, SI is this immediate settlement is happening all highly permeable. Last 10 minutes is there. Okay, I will try to finish within that. Okay. All highly permeable soils, including all non-cohesive soils, undergoes immediate settlement. Okay, and also immediate settlement occurs in the finely grained soil. it is computationally convenient to isolate the soil material as the elastic material. They do actually. This equation which has been developed based on that only. Okay, and when this settlement happen within such a short period of time, you can assume soil to be elastic. Okay, and whatever the mathematical solution has been developed, this is based on this elastic material, assuming it to be elastic material. Okay, it is generally accepted that the immediate settlement predominates in non-cohesive soil, and the estimation of settlement based on elastic theory is quite appropriate. Okay, so. It is generally happens in sandy soil. Okay, this immediate thing. So this equation SI equal to QV into 1 minus nu square by EU into IF. Okay, where Q is the intensity of contact pressure with the pressure which is applied by the footing on the soil. B is the least lateral dimension of the loaded area. So if it is a strip footing, generally it is strip footing only. B is the width. U is the on-drain modulus of elasticity. Okay, on-drain modulus of elasticity. IF is the influence factor. Now, what is this IF? That we'll see. And this IF depends upon the rigidity and shape of the loaded area. Okay, so what is the shape and rigidity of the loaded area? So Indian standard, which is 8009 part 1 1976, has given a table in which this IF value has been given. Okay, here if you see for the circle, when the what will be the settlement, what is the if you are considering the settlement at the middle, center, or the whether you are considering at the corner or whether you are considering the center or whether you are considering at the corner, accordingly they given a formula, and also they have given a formula of the average. Okay, and for the rigid case also. So if you see when it is a circle, this is the formula 1 0.64 0.85. When it is a rectangle, now in this case, when it is, I'm saying that this is the values whatever given here, these are the ratio. This is the L by B ratio. So when by L by B equal to 1, that means it is square foundations. Okay, then 1.5, 2, 5, 10, 100. Now when it is 100 or more than, now it is 10. All these 10 and 100, they nearly behave like a strip footing. Okay, so keep that in mind. Accordingly, this center of the settlement at the center and the corner will be formed. Okay, vertical displacement. Now, these are the cases when the footing is flexible. Okay, what will be the case when the footing is rigid? Okay. So in this case, this equation basically gives for a surface flexible loaded area. The same can be used for rigid footing by modifying the influence factor. Okay, as per Indian Standard 8009 Part 1 1976. So total settlement of a rigid footing taken to be 0.8 times. So whatever, if it is 1, it is taken 0.8. If it is 1.12, this has been the case. Okay, 0.9. So this is, if you multiply 0.8, then these values will come. At time to settlement flexible foundation, and the influence factor for the edges are also given in the here. So in this case, this value has been. If it is rigid foundation, you have to use these factors. And in case if it is a rigid foundation, the settlement will be similar everywhere. It means I'm not saying it will not like the flexible footing, because in the flexible footing, one type of settlements happen in the center and one type of settlement happens in the corner. But in case of rigid footing, everywhere the settlement is same. Okay, that's only one value is being given. Okay, so this is how we are going to find the settlement for the immediate elastic settlement. Okay, now regarding this consolidation settlement, I already have taught you. Okay, but I will send you a set of questions. Okay, these are example problems. From that you can use, when you solve this, you will realize what is this. I think you already know this consolidation settlement, that second primary settlement, secondary settlement. Already you know it. Okay, so that you can find. So what I will do, I will send you a example problem for these chapters. So from that you can understand. If you are not able to understand, then we'll have another class. Okay, so you have to tell me. But technically, this is the last class, the last lecture I'm taking. Okay, I think I have covered everything, most of the things, everything, not most, everything I have covered. Okay, so if anything left out, I will just send it through the Elastic. But to my knowledge, I have covered everything. Okay. So students, you want to ask anything, please ask me. Hello? Hello?
No, sir.
Okay. No, no. Okay. So if you have any, you want to discuss any examples, then you can contact me. Okay. You can put a mail. We can have a discussion class regarding these problems. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay then. Okay. I will send you the related problems PDF to you. Okay. Okay. Bye.